What's up, everybody? Aaron the Dog and Brandon from MMA Wagers back here with another breakdown. We are here for UFC 261. It's triple title pay-per-view, as well as Chris Weidman and Uriah Hall. I mean, just it's a stacked main card and maybe prelims that we're looking at in a year or two from now and being kind of shocked by the amount of names on there right now. We don't maybe know them as well. That's probably why a lot of people are tuning in anyways, trying to get a little more insight. But I think this is a card that in a few years from now, we're going to be looking at a few more names on here and, really just realizing how it wasn't just the main card, but the main card alone, amazing. But yeah, headlined by Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Masvidal 2. It is what it is. This will sell the pay-per-views and get eyes on the other two title fights as well that deserve the eyes of the pay-per-view fight. And this fight will be what it is. What are you thinking about this pay-per-view overall before we hop in?
Yeah, this is a pretty stacked pay-per-view. Obviously, when you have three championship fights on the top of the bill, you're always going to want to pay attention. We got a former champion and Chris Weidman also on the main card, rematching against Uriah Hall. We got Anthony Smith, who's headlined like 5 UFCs in a row on the main card as well, versus up-and-comer Australian Jimmy the Brute Crute. So, yeah, this pay-per-view from a whole is very intriguing, and I don't know if it's going to sell 1 million pay-per-view buys, but I definitely 500 plus thousand.
Yeah. And not that anybody cares, but I will be there live. I'm flying down to Jacksonville.
Yeah, you told me that. I forgot. It's this one.
Yep, I'm flying down to Jacksonville tomorrow morning.
Nice.
Going to be at the weigh-ins, going to be at the fights. So I am a little bit biased, but at the same point, I do honestly think it's going to be a really impressive card. The main event aside. So
super jealous.
Yeah, well, I mean, I got this an $89 shirt so I could get tickets on Wednesday instead of Friday.
Nice.
That UFC Fight Club gig where you have to pay $89 for a year so that they'll let you buy tickets early. I fell for it, and then my buddy ended up getting the tickets before me anyway. So this is my $90 T-shirt. Let's win some of that money back and then some tonight.
Let's go.
On a card that definitely has. I mean, when you have the unknown names and how many masks am I wearing? I'm gonna.
You don't need to wear a mask; it's optional.
I'm gonna be doubling up at the event.
Oh yeah.
You
haven't had your vaccine shots yet, so yeah, better safe than sorry.
Well, I have had both my vaccine shots, but regardless, just gonna be a little bit precautious and Anyways, no one's here to hear about my vax talks. Or anything like that. But I do think that this is a card where we're going to have 2 to 4 underdogs come in. Some cards I look at and I'm having trouble seeing 1 or 2, but this is a card where 1 or 2 I see is coming in, and then there's going to be 1 or 2 I don't see that come in. So it's just, I have that feeling about this card. I can't really explain why, but yeah, I definitely am interested. And for those who are wondering, Pooh Bear, he's doing the Ultimate Fighter right now. So the next 5 weeks for plus for the Pooh Bear, not going to be breaking down fights with me. You're not chopped liver at all, Brandon. I don't mean anything like that. But
no UFC fighter or no MMA fighter.
No MMA fighter and future UFC fighter, Bryan Battle, but Bryan will be back, and
he has no outlets to media. I'm pretty sure he has no cell phone, nothing. It's just he's in the house for 6 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't think he's even on Instagram, right? Like I don't think they have access to anything. So nor do I, want to be a distraction. So go, Bryan. Absolutely. But
house full of food and liquor.
Yeah. But without further ado, let's jump into this card. We're gonna go I believe for the first time with the UFC with split screen here. I'm getting better and better with it. Still not a pro, but our first fight here is at 115 strawweight division between Ariane Carnelossi and Ling Na. God, I'm going to do my best with these pronunciations tonight. As always, I will butcher one or two, but, it's the game we play. Carnelossi in her second fight here. She's 28 years old. The second UFC fight, 12-2 overall. Her debut was against Miss Angela Hill. And just as I say that, I hit the wrong button. Sorry. Angela Hill ended up stopping Carnelossi in round number 3 with a cut. Basically, what we know about Carnelossi, the 28-year-old, first and foremost, she is absolutely bodied up. Everybody kind of makes that remark. Doesn't really transfer over into her necessarily striking power, at least not that I saw in her debut. She kind of is a little bit rigid. Fights, like kind of a lot of these heavily muscled fighters who have kind of limited stand-up, like a Michelle Prazeres, like on the male side. But she can get you up against the cage and use her kind of, muscle to keep you in the clinch. She can definitely wear you down. She doesn't get tired. A lot of later finishes you look at on her record of 12-2. So I definitely like that. She's going to be looking to kind of implement use her muscle, use her strength, implement cage control here against Ling Nia. Ling is fighting out of the UFC Institute in Shanghai, China, as are a few fighters here. She's 24 years old. She's definitely known as a finisher, known as Dragon Girl. She's got a lot of heel hook and a lot of arm bar, a lot of submission finishes. For sure has a few KOs and a soccer kick finish. Mostly round 1 and round 2, and against opponents I haven't heard of. I was able to see a little bit of tape on her. She's going to be the longer. She'll be the rangier fighter here. Carnelossi definitely going to be looking to and I do think that of the two, Ling Na has the better ground game as well. It's just I don't know how she'll get it there. Maybe kind of a Jessica Penne style, like taking the back and getting it down, wearing her down. But this is kind of one I don't have a super strong lean on. I think both fighters are going to keep this one pretty close. They match up pretty well. Physically, Carnelossi does have the advantage. Record-wise, they're similar, but Ling Na actually has more fights. She's shown to be the more explosive finisher. I'm kind of back and forth on this one. I'm going to just take Ling Na. I did look ahead and see she's an underdog here, and this is one where I feel it's going to be close. The one who could finish, at least has shown to finish more in her MMA career, has been Ling Na. And I think that the UFC Institute in Shanghai has had a few fighters already fighting, show some improvements, and I expect that Ling Na is going to be another one. And Carnelossi just didn't show me too much against Angela Hill. I get that's a very tough UFC debut. I'm going to take a shot at the underdog here. By no means one of my most confident picks, but I'm interested at whoever wins this fight, seeing what they can potentially do in this still very shallow strawweight division. So I don't think this is a fight that people should necessarily look away from. I think it's a pretty interesting one, and I'm going to take a shot at the dog Ling Na.
Yeah, this is I expect this to be a very competitive back and forth affair here. The ladies always bring it. Nei Liang is making her UFC debut. Ariane Cornelesi is coming back after suffering that third round loss to Angela Hill. She ended up landing 72 significant strikes before suffering that late finish. Showed a decent account of herself, but ultimately there's levels to MMA, and Angela Hill has just seen the best of the best in the cage, has a wealth of experience, and I can't hold that loss against her too much. She's a physical specimen, Ariane Cornelesi. If you see pictures, her arm looks like it weighs 115 pounds. So
She
it'll
doesn't
be
punch like
interesting.
it though. She doesn't like
Pardon?
hit like it though. She doesn't like
No,
hit like it though. That's
no,
the
I
thing.
think it's because she's 5'2". She's very compact and looks like an action figure. But
Well, yeah,
yeah,
but yeah, some of
the
these
weigh-ins will be interesting tomorrow.
definitely, yeah, definitely. Both have been, yeah. Just real quick, we always look at, and Ling Na has been fighting regularly both in 2020 and 2021. She fought in January. Carnelossi has been off since 2019 September. So that's a
Yeah,
year and a half. So that's another thing to definitely come into here. Already rigid looking athlete now taking off more time, may come back looking a little more static. I think Ling Na is very fluid, 24 years old, getting better. This is a live dog to me.
yeah. Liang is has been super active. She's fought 3 times since Ariane's UFC debut. The opponents she's faced is nothing to like brag about, but at least she's getting to the cage and racking up W's, doing what she's supposed to do. She's an armbar master, like we discussed on LFA last a few hours ago.
Yep.
Some of these women just when you master that armbar, it's a problem for most women in the division, and you obviously can tell she's world class. She's lost to Maria Agapova, but she's like a Tasmanian devil. If you survive one round with Maria Agapova, you're gonna dominate her. Like maybe that was like just Liang didn't see that coming. It was also 3 years ago, so she's obviously gonna learn from that. She
She
lost
also
to
lost to
Juliana
Julie.
Velasquez.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, the Bellator champion right now. That's a huge competitor to be in the cage with, and she survived round one, but she did lose by an armbar. And
Yep.
another girl that's in the UFC, Shakarova, she lost to Lauren Murphy in her debut, but another notable name. But you can also say the same with Cornelesi. She lost her very first MMA fight versus Amanda Hebas,
Yep.
who's a formidable opponent. She had a bit of a step back versus Marina Rodriguez, but still losing to Amanda Rebus and Angela Hill. I think they're both in the top 15 in the UFC rankings right now. So I can see why, like you said, Ariane Cornelesi is the favorite. I can see why for sure. And I can see why you're choosing Nei Liang just because of the activity she's had. It's a huge difference. Oh, there's fans now. I was gonna say there's no fans, but there is actually fans in this event.
Yep.
So that won't play a factor at all. Um, I see a lot of fighters once they lose their UFC debut, they come back even better and definitely hungrier to get into that win column. Because if you lose 2 in a row, you never know, you could get cut. So yeah, I do favor Ariane Cornelesi. I don't like her height though, but she should be able to edge out a decision. I'm not confident at all.
Okay. Well, yeah,
Oh,
and I'm interested here because the odds have it at minus 220 for Carnelossi, plus 180 for Ling Na. I just think um, if it gets close, if it gets to 200, not only was I already leaning Ling Na's way, but I'm automatically betting it. When it's low level women's MMA and it's over plus 200 dogs, I go with the dog. If you bet all the dogs throughout the year, you will make a significant amount of profit. I showed last year doing it, and this year it's came through as well.
oh
But
yeah.
plus 180 is close enough for me also,
So
as well as leaning that way. I do think this is a close fight, and I've said this a little bit lately, but when it's a close fight and I have a fighter who's more likely to finish by a significant margin and Ling Na, I think, compared to Carnelossi, that makes me lean towards the dog here. So we're going to disagree. All good. I think that this will happen a few times on this card, but I'm really excited to
no
see
official
that.
pick yet.
Yeah, I understand. This is there's no official pick from you. That's fine.
And I
But
noticed Ariane, her odds must have jumped up because the beginning of the week she was only like minus 175. So
Yeah, well, a little bit of Instagram pictures of flexing a back will do a lot for you. And it will
yeah,
it'll
the
also
tank.
get, it'll get the bettors to bet heavily into you. This next fight here, I am very, very excited about. It is in the 125 division, flyweight never die. We got Jeff Molina versus is it Archie Liang? I believe is how I heard it said. I know it's spelled completely differently, but I believe it's Archie Liang, the Chinese fighter, who I'm just going to refer to by his nickname. How about of the Mongolian
The
Murderer?
Mongolian murderer.
I mean, when you got a nickname like that, I don't want to be disrespectful, but I believe it is pronounced Archie Liang, from how I could hear it, on 18-6, the Mongolian Murderer, making his UFC debut here, 27 years old, 5'7". He is a little tank, 69-inch reach. Definitely reminds me of the champion in a lot of ways. Has good Brazilian jiu-jitsu and really legitimate power for the flyweight division. Really hits hard. I wasn't able to find a ton of tape on him, and with the WLF, you never really know what you're going to get over there. Sometimes it's very legitimate fighters and prospects. Other times it's kind of not. It is a very much a wild card, but from what I
Yeah,
was
we'll
able
be
to see,
bringing that promotion up a lot actually. That the last fight we spoke about, Nei Liang she's had
the
a
case in
multiple
point,
fights in WLF.
right?
So yeah,
Yeah,
that
case
will
in
be an
point. Yeah,
ongoing conversation.
and I don't know if Archie Liang was at the UFC Institute in Shanghai or not, but he definitely seems to look very good from what I've been able to see. Seems to look like he hits very hard for the division. Um, and I think against Jeff Molina, he's going to be the stronger striker. And I don't mean better striker, just stronger, harder hitter. El Jefe is definitely very technical, throws a lot of leg kicks, only 23 years old. So he's going to be constantly improving. 23 and 27, these guys. Glory MMA product. So we know the Stooges love them, working with Glory a lot. 5'6" versus 5'7", so similar sizes here. Coming off his Contender Series win against Jacob Silva, where he fought someone you could say is a little bit similar to Archie Liang, I guess, in some ways, because Silva is another guy who really gets in there, but a little less technical than Archie Liang and a little less well-rounded. But honestly, I think that performance against Jacob Silva was pretty remarkable and really well-deserved decision to get onto the big show. I will say that Jeff Molina has been shown to get a little bit controlled. The fight before against Ken Porter, he was on the ground for a good amount of the first round and ended up snatching up a submission. But yeah, there are opportunities to control Jeff Molina for sure, but at 23, he's constantly improving. He won the Most Improved Fighter award at Glory MMA this past year from James Krause, and just he is a fighter who started out 1-2 in his career and really made a turnaround from there and has won 6 straight. Archie Liang also very good. This is another really close fight. One thing that Molina, I hope he's starting to correct with the leg kicks is sometimes he kind of throws them naked to where if someone has a really strong overhand, a really strong counter right, they're going to be able to catch one of those leg kicks in between and possibly put him away. That's something I think that's got to be being corrected by his coaches, however. So yeah, this is just, I mean, it's just how much I trust the competition Archie Liang is faced over in WLF, because I do trust a little more how tested Molina has been and continues to be at Glory. I feel like everybody's going with Jeff Molina just out of the familiarity, but I was able to get some tape done on Archie Liang, and I don't know if you know how to do this, but and just for everybody who's watching, but if you're looking for these Chinese fighters, if you're looking for their information a little more, You go to the Tapology page and you take the characters right here and you copy the Chinese characters onto Google search, and then you're going to be able to bring up all their tape. So on Tapology, next to their name, there's the Chinese characters. You copy that and search that into Google, and then it brings up all the fight tape. Because if you just type in this name onto even YouTube, you're not going to find a lot of fight tape. And that's for most of the Chinese fighters. So this is a tip to everybody out there, that if you're looking for that, go to Tapology, copy and paste the Chinese characters, put it into Google search, and up will come any of the tape they have. So just for the first 3 fighters, that will definitely be helpful. But what are your thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, I just want to add Lord Honky Humongous on Twitter always has a lot of quick fight clips from fights coming up this week, or any week. And I know he always puts compilations together on fights you normally can't find. So yeah, he's a good follow. Lord Honky Humongous. I know it's a weird Twitter handle, but I'll throw that out there.
By the way, my official pick. I'm going to lean with Jeff Molina. I just think that he is ever improving here. That his performance against Jacob Silva, I think he can use a lot of that, corrects some of those errors with the leg kicks, but is able to implement it with a little more combinations. I just think Jeff Molina is going to be able to out-edge this one, but this is a super close fight, and I do think that there's a possibility that the Mongolian Murderer does get is able to catch Molina going backwards here and put him away. He has legit power, so not one of my most confident, but I'm going to go Jeff Molina like everybody else, unfortunately. But it's really close, and check out Archie Lang's footage. He looks like he's got some potential. Just I wonder level of competition.
Yeah, this is going to be a really fun scrap. 125ers can go a full 15 minutes without slowing down, so I see a really back and forth fight like I said about the first one. It's crazy. Like 2 or 3 years ago, Jeff Molina would be like a minus 300 here because Chinese fighters just weren't that great. They're finally starting to develop true MMA skills. They have legitimate coaches and institutes that they can go to. They have the right resources to keep improving. And yeah, since like 3 years ago, Chinese fighters are on a whole nother level now. I'm not gonna count them out ever again. I used to count them out all the time, but I'm not counting out Chinese fighters again. But they're both making their UFC debuts. Jeff Molina, Glory MMA fighter under James Krause. Seems like every UFC card we have a James Krause fighter.
Basically,
it's awesome. He just knows what he's doing, and he also does a betting segment with Nick Kalikas and Brett Okamoto. If you ever want to check that out, he's been on a roll, man. So if you want to hear his bets, he's somebody to tail. I do disagree with him this week, but he's on a roll. But yeah, this fight, Jeffrey Molina, he's also commentated before for local promotions. I remember listening to him really break down the fight game really well. He's got a knack for commentating if he ever wants to do that in the future. It's crazy that he's only 23 years old. He kind of reminds me of Yusuf Zalal. And we just saw Yusuf Zalal lose to an Asian fighter pretty handily, actually. But that's somebody with a more decorated record. Well, this guy, I can't believe these guys have like 18-6. China is starting to become Brazil with these fights every other month. It seems like.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Stacking them up in these random opponents. I mean,
18-16, 4-4, 3-3.
Yeah, the records are all over the place. That's the other part that's very hard. Russia has some fighters like this with these records too. It's getting tougher to decipher. You can look good against different competition, but Jeff Molina.
I'm not gonna praise Jeff Molina's record either. Like he is a 9-17 opponent, a 3-7.
Right.
His most recent wins are against an 11-5 and Jacob Silva, who's 6-2. Nothing to like really, you know,
Right home about.
ride home about. And yeah, but he's got a bit of an amateur record here. They both pretty much have the even amount of fights. Aori, the Chinese fella, he's
Yep.
he's a little older, 27, 24 fights. Jeff's got 10 fights as a professional, but I think those 24 professional fights, you can count half them as like amateur fights in my opinion, because just the level of competition. I think in
Yep.
China they're just doing professional shows. Whoever signs up and let's go. Like I think they're
Yeah.
just trying to get more eyeballs on the sport. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So yeah, I like Jeff Molina as well. I was really high on him after watching him on the Contender Series. I believe he got a 30-27. Yeah, there was one 29-28 scorecard, but
Yeah.
other than that, it was a pretty uh, clean victory. And yeah, I think the experience level is a bit different here, and I think we're gonna witness that Saturday night. And Jeff's in really good hands with James Krause. We've seen Julian Marquez look great. Grant Dawson. Yusuf did have that step back, but like he's still a very promising prospect. There's just a lot of guys you can point out that James has really developed into UFC caliber fighters.
Yeah, definitely. So we're both on Jeff Molina. It's -110 both ways. I'm seeing
Oh,
basically a
that's
pick 'em. -120 for Archie Liang on some. So
what's the
yeah.
decision prop on Jeff Molina?
I don't have the props up. If you want, if you want to pull those up and
Yeah,
you can go through those, that'd be helpful. But
yeah, I
yeah,
got it right here. So I'm
well,
I'm guessing it's gonna go to a decision, even though these guys have high finishing rates.
yep.
Um, Molina might get a submission actually. So the submission prop might be worth looking at. Let me just double check here. I just want to see Jeff Molina by submission is plus 555, so that's worth a little bit.
Yeah,
And by decision is probably it's plus 190. So
yeah, not as
you're
worth
better to
it.
just bet him straight just in case he gets that finish.
Yeah, I agree. So we're going to move on now to the 155 division. We got a newcomer in Zhu Rong, another Chinese fighter, 17-3, taking on Rodrigo Vargas, Cazulo Vargas, better known as.
Yep.
This is as close to as I call it, a squash matchup, a setup matchup, as there appears to be in the UFC, to me at least. But Zhurong is 17-3, allegedly 21. I don't
It's hard
know,
to
but
believe because he's been fighting for 5 years. So
he doesn't look like he's 21 there. Uh, but either way,
he's
he
definitely
says
not a late bloomer.
he says he's 21. This guy basically he stands and throws. A lot of first
Another
round.
WLF bet.
Yeah, a lot of first round finishes by KO, a few submissions in between there. Mar- Marcio Andrade, definitely the most notable opponent on here, and he got a rear naked choke against him. Marcio Andrade is now 21-6. Just lost to Carrington Banks recently, but yeah, so that is, I would say, Zurog's best known when he's pretty. He's okay on the ground, but he's kind of just looks to overpower you as opposed to technique to win on when it's on the ground. But yeah, I think I'll keep this one pretty short. It's a 13 fight card. Cazulo Vargas hasn't shown me a whole lot. Had that legal knee against Brock Weaver in a fight he was kind of winning until then. So I will give him that. But he's 35 years old. The Mexican fighter definitely, just fights very tough, goes forward, keeps going forward, will take a bunch of shots. He has a real quick head kick knockout of Mike Delatorre. which is definitely a good win. But besides that, I just think that this is a 35-year-old. He will be desperate, so I think he's going to look to get in there and stand and train with Zhang. And if he catches him, he can put him away. But I just think Zhang can possibly take him down if he has to, but should have it on the feet. Zhang, I'll guess KO round number 1. I just think Kazula is going to go in there and try to kill or be killed. He's not going to play it safe. And Zhang has the ability to finish lower level opponents. I would say Kazula Vargas is kind of low level.
Yeah. And we have another Chinese fighter making his UFC debut here. Zhu Wang, only 21, turned 21 March 7th, so a month and a little bit ago. It's crazy how young he is. He trains with Su Matajari, who's had incredible success in the UFC so far. They're not in the same weight class. Su Matajari is a flyweight. We have a lightweight fight here, 155 pounds. So Rodrigo, a bit of a layoff. It's been a year and a bit. And I think Zhang has been very active. Yeah, he just fought this year in January. He has like 3 fights in 2020. WLF just went full out in 2020, and I didn't even realize. I don't really keep my eyes out on the Asian scene, MMA scene. So yeah, they must have had shows every other month, because when I was doing research, that's all I saw was WLF. So
you can do the same thing with Zhang's name on Tapology and search for on Google for those fights if you need to
do some fight research.
Yep.
Yeah, he's got 11 knockouts, 4 submissions. He's so young, man. He must be a really good prospect. He has lost by 3 submissions, but any fighter just starting off are going to have those hiccups. Like you said a week ago, you lose by a triangle. A lot of people lose by that when they first start off.
Yeah.
My initial pick was Kazula because I like the underdog odds. I remember him dominating Brock Weaver. He had like almost a whole round of control time, and it was just an unfortunate illegal knee. And I remember betting Kazula at plus 225 that fight, and it was looking great. I'm like, yes, like keep going. And then he pulled a Peter Yan and just delivered an illegal knee. It was unfortunate, and Brock Weaver couldn't continue. He had a tough outing against the Brazilian Alex da Silva, who has a 20-2 record, but that's also a
Brazilian padded,
a loaded Brazilian record.
Yep.
Yeah, you can't take
we
that.
Might find out that we might find out there's some bloated Chinese records after this card.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is it's gonna be like a hindsight type of thing afterwards. We're gonna be like, damn, we should have really faded these Chinese fighters.
Yeah, I think this is one of the most interesting parts for this card from Dana's perspective. He's putting a lot of he's gambling a lot. UFC's gambled a lot on the UFC Shanghai Institute already as is, but the amount of young, unproven Chinese fighters on this big, high-profile card, I think he's expecting a lot of the card to be there to support Weili Zhang, I think, and he's trying to put on a little bit of a Chinese showcase, and I'm here for it, and I'm buying into it with 2 of the 3. Archie Liang is the only one I haven't gone with so far, and I almost went with him as well. But
Kazula has a pardon?
Go ahead.
Yeah, Kazula has a comparable defeat that Kamaru Usman suffered to Jose Caceres, Alex Caceres' brother. So, like, I know Jose Caceres isn't that high level, but he does have that win over Kamaru Usman. He beat Kazula Vargas.
Oh, there we go. There's your Kazula Vargas Usman.
He beat Jordan Williams. The Contender Series vet. I know he's 35, but it's he's 0-2 in the UFC. This is it. This is now or never. This kid's so young. He's not mature. Well, Chinese fighters actually mature at a young age. I find like they're so disciplined from such a young age. I think this Zhu Chinese fighter, only 21, but his fight mentality probably is a lot better than that. I don't know. I like the experience that Kazula has. He knows it's now or never. I'm not counting him out, but I understand why you're siding with the fighter with the long win streak and the 14-year age advantage.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say Zurog inside the distance would probably be my bet. It's probably like a minus 150.
Especially training with Sumanajari, like
Yeah,
high level.
yeah, I think he puts him away. I know the odds are a little bit steep for the newcomer, minus 250 versus a plus 210 on Rodrigo Cazula Vargas. I get if you're taking a shot at the dog, I'm going to go with the favorite here in Zurog. And that's going to move us on to we're only 4 fights in, so we're going to work on, picking it up a little bit here, but we're going to cover the fights as they need to. This next fight here is at bantamweight. It is between Bonjarel and Danan Bonjarel and Kevin Natividad. I did my best on the pronunciation there. Apologize if it's not some, but it is what it is. I'm doing the best I can. 135 division here. Bonjarel was able to get his first UFC win in his last performance here. The fighter out of Mongolia, nicknamed Storm. He's 5'7", 31 years old now. Got a left hook first round knockout of Guido Canetti back in March of 2020. He was scheduled to take on Kyler Phillips in October, and he had to withdraw, I believe, with an injury.
The bullet there.
Yeah, and he goes from Kyler Phillips to Kevin Natividad. So good pull out by
definitely dodged a bullet.
Yeah, because that would have been a rough one for him. But Bonjarel definitely looks to have good stand-up. He looks to be a strong fighter. Wasn't super tested prior to the UFC. Lost a close decision to Haley Altang in his UFC debut. He's taken on Kevin Natividad here, who did not look great against Miles Johns. I thought that he was quite hittable, and definitely tired as the fight. Yeah, definitely tired as the fight went on. Low output, and then got put away in the third round. Not a great look. And then you kind of look back at Natividad's record, and he's not a whole lot tested either. His only notable win, Kyle Estrada, 10-5, who is okay, I guess. And then he has a majority win over Erwin Rivera, meaning that was a really close one. I don't have a super strong read on this one other than that I question Natividad's kind of gas tank and chin as well as his output. I think Bonjarel will be the more active, more dangerous fighter here. And I just think that he's the slightly better tested of the two of them here also. And just I'm not crazy with how he made Miles Johns look, especially when you see how Miles Johns has looked since then. I'm going to go Bonjarel. I'm not sure if he gets the finish or not. I would lean towards yes, but I wouldn't bet on it. But I'll take the nod, Bonjarel, and I'll say round 3 KO, round 2 KO actually. He does it a round quicker than Miles Johns.
Yeah, he's got a few round 2 finishes.
Yeah.
This will be a good fight. We got 135ers here. Dana Bonjarel versus Kevin Natividad. Kevin Natividad, brother of Christian Natividad, competing in LFA at the moment, who's actually shining, picking up some wins in LFA. So he's got a brother alongside him. He was very disappointing in his UFC debut. Maybe those UFC jitters got to him. I know they don't affect everybody, but they do affect some people. Those bright lights. Miles Johns, I know, was already like 2-1 in the UFC before that. Kevin Natividad made his UFC debut.
Short notice, I believe, too.
And it was short notice. It was on Halloween in 2020, so he's had like 6 months to recover from that knockout. he took the appropriate amount of time off to sharpen his tools. I was very impressed with Dana Botcherall in versus Guida. I know Guido is like 36. He's definitely on the older side, but
Hmm.
that left hook was just money. That was gravy. That was a thing of beauty. And that Holly Alatong loss isn't as bad as you think. He got around over Holly Alatong, and he actually landed over 100 strikes on Alatong throughout those 3 rounds. So he can put up a pace, and
Yeah, the
at least
output.
the output is definitely a big difference on paper. Anyways, we don't know how Kevin's gonna look in his sophomore uh, UFC stint here. So I don't like any of Kevin's wins really. Kyle Estrada is one of the most unreliable fighters you can think of. Andy Perez was a split. Erwin Rivera was a majority. He's got no notable wins, and Dana Botcherall actually has a win over Kai Kara France,
Yep.
who I think is a very, very good fighter who just got a win recently. Actually,
Over
I think it was a buzzer beater. That was a hell of a
Bontarine.
fight
Yeah.
versus Rogerio Bontarine. Yep. And yeah, I like Dana, man. He's another Mongolian fighter. A lot of these Chinese Mongolian fighters are gonna shine, like you've been saying. But at the same time, it's UFC level. Like these are all UFC level fights. Uh, there's always gonna be a big surprise.
Yeah, it could be this. So you are leaning towards Batcherel.
Yeah, he was my initial pick. I think the odds have inflated a bit on him, unfortunately.
Yeah, I was hoping that maybe the Natividad name from Bellator, and they'd be like, "Oh man, I've heard of these guys," and they're
And his
trailing
brother,
high.
yeah.
Yeah, but unfortunately, Batchero minus 185. That's a little bit steep, but also I can understand with the output and overall. Yeah, I do give the advantage here to Batchero, but I think it's a parlayable piece still at that price. So
Yeah, these
there's that.
Hawaiians seem to fade. I've found.
What'd you say?
I just recently these Hawaiians have been fading in fights. I know
Yeah.
Kevin probably is going to learn from that mistake. He just had a birthday April 2nd as well, 20 days ago. So he's obviously sacrificed his 28th birthday. He's just entering his prime. Like I'm not saying Dana's a for sure pick or anything, but I do side with him in this fight.
He's one of my more confident picks early on in the fight card for sure. So this will
Yeah.
move us on to the next fight here at 145 pounds.
Wow.
Tristan Connolly making the
Or 170.
from 170 and making the big upset win over whatever his name is.
Michel Pereira,
Michel Pereira. I was trying to think of his nickname. I
the
just
tornado striker.
yeah. And then Michel Pereira, where he
Plus
had the upset.
125 underdog.
Yeah, he was a giant underdog. Taking on Pat Sabatini, finally getting his UFC debut. Pat Sabatini was set to take on a guy who could have weighed in at welterweight. Unfortunately, the fight was at 145, and Rafael Alves, who missed weight by, I think, a UFC record 12 pounds. Pat Sabatini, Pat Sabatini, 13-3 CFFC product, 5'8" featherweight. He's been around for sure, and he's 30 years old, so he's making it in the middle of his prime to the UFC finally here. He's coming off a 2-fight win streak, and his fight that he lost was an arm injury early on, so I don't know if you can really even count that. If you don't count that, it's essentially a 5-fight win streak.
And the split decision. You can even say that split went the other way.
Yeah, and the split, but and the split is over a decent guy.
And Robert Watley is a formidable opponent.
Yeah, and Damian Blackshear, he has a decision win over. Definitely a well-rounded guy in Sabatini, but his jiu-jitsu has been the way he's accomplished most of his wins. He's got some heel hooks, some rear naked chokes. He's got good leg kicks, good boxing overall. I honestly do like Pat Sabatini quite a bit. I have liked him for a while. And he's been a guy I've been following for a bit, so I've been expecting him to make this trip to the UFC. He's fought 3 times in 2020. Going to be back in front of a crowd here. Tristan, just 30 years old, definitely in the middle of his prime, was ready for his UFC debut a few months ago, and now he's getting it a little later, taking on the 35-year-old Tristan Connelly, 5'10", making the trip down from 170, and definitely going to be interested to see what he looks like at the weigh-ins. He had that scrappy win over Michel Pereira. Before that, mostly fought at lightweight. And at lightweight, he, did have some luck, had some catchweight fights, but I don't believe he's fought at featherweight. So, and so I'm a little bit curious there. He got knee-barred by Shane Campbell, which is always interesting, but for the most part, has lost by decision in his career when he's lost. There's this, I don't know what to really say about Tristan Connelly. He's kind of good everywhere, not spectacular anywhere that I could really see. He's, a Canadian legend, so maybe you have a little bit more thoughts. Canadian regional legend, at least I should say. But I think this is one where Pat Sabatini should be able to come in and kind of, have his way. I know Connelly is coming down from 170, so there's a size and strength potential for Connelly here to kind of control the top game. But I think Pat Sabatini is going to be able to use good kicks, good, has good jiu-jitsu. If he gets on top, I think he can stay there as well. I just think Pat Sabatini is a better overall fighter, and this is a good matchup for his debut.
Yeah. I initially picked Tristan Connelly as well. I thought the odds were a little lopsided, but after doing some further research, I see why Pat's the favorite. He's riding back-to-back wins. Tristan Connelly had that huge, I thought he would have been the favorite in this fight because he had that huge win against Michel Pereira, who is very close to being ranked in the top 15 in the welterweight division right now. Short notice, he did that, out-grappled Michel. He's a hell of a grappler. I think he opened a lot of people's eyes, and the odds makers are still disrespecting him. So that makes me think that the odds makers must know something I don't here. Pat Sabatini was supposed to make his UFC debut against Rafael the Turn Elves, but yeah, like you said, a massive weight miss. And Pat Sabatini weighed in like a professional, and that was only 2 months ago. So he had to do that weight cut again. He repeated the same routine he did. So in 2 months, in 48 days, he's cut weight twice. So that might affect him as well. Tristan Connelly, like you said, dropping down 2 weight classes here, dropping down 25 pounds. But the only reason he fought Michel Pereira at 170 is because he came in short notice for that UFC debut. So he's going to be fighting at his more natural weight class. I like how he's already got a UFC win under his belt. Pat Sabatini, 30 years old. Tristan, 33. Tristan definitely has to make a name for himself now, reaching the mid-30s. I'm not saying he's old or anything, but if he's dropping down to 145, those guys are fast. And, you don't want to be on the wrong end of your 30s fighting at 145 in the best promotion in the world. So it's really hard for me to predict this fight. I don't know a lot about Pat Sabatini. I know he's a CFFC vet. He's got good losses, but like his wins. Oh, Tony Gravely. I just noticed he beat Tony Gravely.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. And his losses aren't bad. James Gonzalez, which was an arm injury.
Watley.
So yeah, PFL vet Robert Watley, like a very decorated wrestler. And you're gonna learn from those. Michael Lawrence, I've actually heard of. So yeah, he's got a lot of notable names, not a lot of momentum coming into this debut, 2-0. Like 2 wins. Tristan's 8-1 in his last 9, dating
True.
back 5 years ago. Only losing to that knee bar in round 3. 6
Yep.
seconds left of the fight. Oh, sorry, it was a championship fight, so still, anybody can get caught in a knee bar. This is going to be
Sabatini's
another
won by
competitive
a
fight,
heel hook.
like a heel hook.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sabatini's won by heel hook, I'm saying. So,
Oh, okay. Yeah, it could be another sneaky submission here that Tristan Connolly gets caught in. It's just I know I sound like a broken record, but just another competitive fight, and I don't have a strong lean as of now. I really like Tristan Connolly. He's my Canadian resident, but he hasn't actually been training in Canada, but he's been training in Las Vegas, which is probably the best option at the moment with all the high level fighters hibernating to Las Vegas these days. So yeah, I like the momentum too on Tristan. The Michel Pereira win is huge. I think the odds makers are disrespecting Tristan Connolly a little bit here, unless they know something I don't. I don't know.
Yeah, minus 225 for Pat Sabatini. Shocking odds there. Plus 185 for Tristan Connolly. I wish I was taking the dog because I'd love to
I
bet
just
that.
might not touch this fight, to be honest. Like that.
Yeah,
That's
it's on a
too
13
high.
fight on a 13 fight card. I think there are fights not to touch, and that would be one of them.
Dogger pass.
Yeah, I'd say dog or pass, but I'm not taking the dog, so
No.
this would just be a pass for me. We're gonna move on to our next fight here. It's at the 185 division. Two guys I really like quite a bit. One a little more than the other, but Brendan All In Allen taking on Carl Baby K Roberson. This is an interesting fight. I feel that for the most part, it's a striker versus grappler, but obviously both guys can do the other guy's trade well. Carl Roberson, Baby K, 30 years old now, 6'1", middleweight, known for being a Glory Kickboxing vet as well as a UFC vet. He's had some decent fights inside the octagon, but his wins are over Jack Marshman. He did have a Darren Stewart win, and he got
A lot of people beat Darren Stewart. Bartosz Fabinski beat Darren Stewart. So
correct, yeah. So Darren Stewart has some great performances and some not great performances. But Jack Marshman, nothing special. Split with Wellington Turman, and he beat Roman Kopylov. He has a couple rear naked choke wins for his wins, so it seems he beats guys who just kind of shouldn't be in the UFC because he's not going to be able to get a rear naked choke on Brendan Allen here. Honestly, with Robertson here, I haven't loved what I've been seeing lately. Then there was a Vettori weight miss. Then he came into the Vettori fight. He actually looked okay. He got a takedown early on and had a little bit of success before Vettori took over and took his back and choked him out inside the first round. Brendan Allen, 25 years old, so 25 versus 30 here. But Brendan Allen's taken a ton of damage early, like just a lot of damage. Sean Strickland really pieced him up quite bad in that fight. And we saw in that fight that when Brendan Allen's unable to get the fight to the ground, we kind of see not a great instincts out of Brendan Allen. He tends to try to just tough through the damage to get through the firefight, and that doesn't work too well in the UFC. Eventually, you have to just go down. Sean Strickland was coming off, I believe, a 2 or 3 year layoff before that fight, and
no, he had a win over Jack Marshman before
that fight, and before that fight,
he pieced up Jack. He was like, "How are you not going down, Jack?" That was
right,
one of the
before the Jack Marshman fight, he had been on a significant layoff.
Yeah.
So, but Sean Strickland just has looked great since coming back. So props to him there. But we did kind of see if Roberson's able to have that success of keeping Brendan from getting this fight to where Brendan wants it. I do think that Roberson can have some success, but I think this ends up looking a lot like the Tom Breeze fight, a lot like the Kevin Holland fight, I think Brendan gets this fight to the ground and ends up getting the finish. Even the Aaron Jeffrey win was impressive. The Kyle Dawkins fight, we didn't know how good that was at the time. Kyle Dawkins came in on short notice and really gave him all he could take, and Brendan won that unanimously. I just think Brendan is so much more high level on the ground and has learned that he can't just I think he learned a lot from that past performance. So I'm going to go with Brendan Allen to get this down to the ground in a round 1 or round 2 submission finish for Brendan Allen.
Yeah, I'm totally on the same page with you here. I like Brendan Allen right off the bat. I noticed there was a bit of a coin flip in the odds, and now money has come in on Brendan Allen.
As
I
it
think
should.
it's like minus 150 now.
Yes, as it should.
I'm just double checking the scorecards for the Brendan Allen versus Sean Strickland. I remember Brendan Allen. I think he did win that first round against Sean, but I could be wrong. I know it was competitive at least.
It was very competitive, but it was being fought in a way that Brendan wasn't going to be able to sustain that pace, and it showed.
Yeah. And
so
was
you
that
can win
out
a
of his
round.
weight class? No.
I'm sorry, what?
Was that in middleweight? That was a middleweight fight, right?
Middleweight,
Or it
yes.
might have been a catchweight because I think Sean Strickland came in short notice. So I think they made it a catchweight fight. Let me just double check. Yeah, it was 195.
Yeah.
So it was out of his natural weight class. But I think Brendan Allen just got caught up in the wrong department where he should not be fighting. He was having fun piecing up Sean and back and forth fight. I think he had some false confidence in that fight, thinking he could take Sean out. But Sean is one of the most underrated fighters in the UFC. He's one of the best strikers, has some of the most output in the UFC. He doesn't go for takedowns. He's all striking. He's only lost to Kamaru Usman. But enough talking about Sean Strickland. I'm just really high on the guy. But
how about
losing
Carl
to him,
Roberson?
and Carl Roberson, he's lost to Marvin Vettori. He's lost a lot by submissions, man. I think all of his losses, all 3 of his losses have come by submission. 2 arm triangles and 1 rear naked choke. I can't give you a lot of good names that Carl has beaten. Like, I don't think Jack Marsh, like, I like Jack Marshman. He's an awesome guy, but he's just never been a fighter that I held in high caliber. Roman Kopylov, that was Roman's debut. Roman actually illegally eye poked him in round 3, and that really woke Carl Roberson up because he just went at him like a madman. He's like, "You're gonna poke me in the eye," and he ended up submitting him in round 3. Wellington Turman split decision. I don't think Wellington Turman's that great either, but he's lost to Glover. We're seeing Glover fight in the championship in September. Cesar Ferreira. I don't think he's even in the UFC anymore, but all these guys are submitting him. The blueprint's out there to beat Carl. I think if Brendan can survive the first round, probably even compete on the feet with Carl Roberson, and if he does get in trouble, he's got the grappling in his back pocket. He's also moved training camps to Sanford MMA. We've seen Sanford MMA have very great results the past few weeks. Vicente Luque's there. I can just list off fighters from there that have had great success. It's a great move for Brendan Allen. He was at the press conference looking sharp in a nice suit. He has a daughter. He wants to be a good role model here. A 3-year-old daughter that he wants to provide for. I'm not sure Carl Roberson's family if he has kids or not, but he missed weight twice against Marvin Vettori. I don't know how invested he is in MMA, but right off the gate, right off the bat, I've liked Brendan Allen. I already have a bet on him. I might go heavier, but I expect a submission. Brendan Allen is one of the only guys to submit Kevin Holland. Marvin Vettori couldn't do it. Derek Brunson's not a submission guy, but Derek Brunson couldn't do it. And Allen went in there, showed Kevin who's boss, snatched the neck in round 2. He also has a win over Aaron Jeffrey, one of my Canadian boys who's on the local scene, tearing it up. That must be one of Aaron Jeffrey's only losses because Aaron Jeffrey is really good. Kyle Dawkins, Chris Dawkins' brother, who you look that fight up. Kyle Dawkins versus Brendan Allen. That should have been fight of the night. I think it might have been, actually. Let me double check. It got
Yeah,
number 47 best MMA fight of the year in 2020. That was a banger. You're going to learn from those wars. I know he did come back fighting Sean Strickland and lost in the second round, but you're going to learn. You're going to learn from those setbacks, and I don't take anything away from Brendan Allen losing to Sean Strickland. So I think he gets back in the win column here against a less skilled MMA, like a less skilled overall MMA opponent in Carl Roberson.
Yep, we're in agreement. Minus 155 on Brendan Allen.
I'll still bet that.
Still decent odds, but it is quickly fading and changing there. So we will move on to the next fight here. We are getting closer to the end of the prelims. We've got Dwight Grant versus Stefan Stečulik. I believe is how you pronounce that name. Stefan Stečulik has been off for a little while now with a banned substance. I'm not exactly sure which substance and what the story was behind that. But Dwight Grant,
it was like a Jessica Penne situation, or like a Neil Magny situation.
Yeah, but I don't believe it was intentional use of a substance. So we got a 36 and a half year old in Dwight Grant, 10-3 taking on the 12-3, 29-year-old still in Stefan Stečulik. Stefan does train out of I believe it's called Family Fight Team.
Yep.
And a few other fighters of note have trained out of there. And I'm just blanking on who Stefan trained with recently, who fought.
Euros Medic?
Yeah, Euros Medic. It was who he's trained with in the past. He fought in his debut back in September of 2018 against Ramzan Emiev. He showed decent account of himself in that fight. Definitely slowed down in the later rounds, took a lot of damage. Stefan kind of just he looks to get in there and kind of make it an ugly fight, grapple. Doesn't have the crispest of striking. That definitely is by far and away where Dwight Grant will have the advantage. But sometimes Dwight Grant can be made a little bit uncomfortable by kind of gritty grapplers. Frees up with regards to his volume, like the Zach Otto fight. He definitely corrected that against Carlo Petrozzoli towards the end of the round. But before the end of the round was kind of having a similar type of issue. Alan Joban, it was a split decision, again, in part because he was not throwing the volume he needed to. And then he got put away in the first round by Daniel Rodriguez back in August of 2020, and he's been off since then. He was scheduled to come back against Li Jing Liang, and Grant tested positive for COVID. So Grant did have COVID back at the beginning of the year. Still trains out of American Kickboxing. He's back, but I've been pretty open in talking about athletes who've had COVID and how they have not come back well.
Jeff Molina had COVID. I forgot to mention that.
What was that?
Jeffrey Molina, who we spoke about earlier, is coming off COVID as well.
Yeah, 23 though, as opposed to 36. That's definitely a factor as well. This is one where I don't love what I've seen out of Stečulik in his UFC debut, especially. He just did not really impress me at all. He's had multiple years to take off to get better, really recover, shore up some holes in his game plan, and maybe he comes back and surprises Dwight Grant. But I don't know. I think this is one of my least anticipated fights of the night. I don't anticipate it being a very good fight. I think it's going to be close. I think Dwight Grant is going to use his length, movement, and just overall striking technical superiority to get to a decision, but he should go in there trying to finish a guy like Stečulik. And Stečulik, I think, is going to try and make this as grimy and dirty as he can. Grapple on, clinch, do whatever he can to get to a decision. That's how I think his path to victory is.
Yeah, seeing 36 in the 170-pound division worries me right off the bat.
Yep.
Dwight Grant, also very inactive. He's only fought 4 times in the past 3 years. Um, that Alan Jouban fight might have been the most boring fight in UFC history, if
That would be
like,
Zach Otto's fight.
or even Zach Otto. But even
That was
I think
worse.
the Alan Jouban might have been more boring.
I don't know. I don't know, man.
Literally,
That Zach Otto
these are the
fight had.
stats.
I'm pretty sure the Zach Otto fight had 13 total strikes in it or something.
No, Zach Otto, he landed 25 significant strikes, 33 regular strikes. So yeah,
Okay.
that is actually less than what he did
Yeah.
against Jouban. He landed 30. It's just
Yeah.
crazy. He's going 3 rounds and only landing 30 strikes. So you're landing 10 strikes every 5 minutes. That's 2 strikes a minute. That
And that's
is that
yeah.
is just. I think the UFC wants to get rid of this guy. I'm not trying to be a hater, but
No.
he has good knockouts. He does when he shows up prepared and ready to fight on his shield. He's he's very entertaining, which he did last fight. He had Daniel Rodriguez out of there. The ref arguably could have stepped in, and then the tables turned. Dwight Grant got tired, punched himself out, and Daniel Rodriguez got him when he got exhausted trying to finish Rodriguez. So that was a really good fight. Did that get fight of the night? No, it didn't. But yeah, that Alan Jouban fight, I hated that fight. But against the opposition he should beat, he does. Stefan Sekulik had a very rough outing against Hamazan Ameev. Like, making your UFC debut against Hamazan Ameev is no easy task.
No.
Not a lot of fighters look good against that Russian. He's a good opponent. He sticks to his bread and butter. He's not a reckless fighter. He's gonna stick to the basics and do what he does. So I don't really I don't think that's a huge deal that Stefan lost to Hamazan in his debut. He did lose by a leg injury, so another knockout that's not truly a knockout. You got to really, when you see knockouts, you really have to dig into them, look at the specified way they got knocked out, because half the time it might be an injury, it might be a disqualification. There's a lot of different ways they classify knockouts. So
Yep.
David Zawada, another guy Stefan has lost to, David Zawada in the UFC. I thought he showed a very good account of himself. Speaking of Hamazan Ameev, he did. Yeah, it was a split decision, man. I think David Zawada really should have won that fight, but yeah, he lost to him. He lost to the leg injury. He lost to Hamazan in his UFC debut. So none of those losses I really don't take into huge credibility. Like, you're only gonna get better as taking those losses and competing against the higher caliber fighters. I can't really give you a good opponent he's beat. There's really not a lot I can rattle off here. But Dwight Grant used to fight at American Kickboxing Academy. He's now at Alliance with Jeremy Stevens, Dominic Cruz, Jessica Penne, Angela Hill. So yeah, he's moved on from American Kickboxing Academy. I've heard American Kickboxing Academy is actually shut down. I don't know if they're ever going to reopen. So yeah, a lot of the fighters have just scattered away, training in other areas. Yeah, so that Alan Jouban split decision win. Speaking of Jordan Williams, we spoke about him earlier. Dwight Grant actually has a knockout over Jordan Williams. Kazula knocked out Jordan Williams as well, I think. So
Yep.
yeah,
Well,
Jordan Williams keeps popping up here. Yeah, I don't know. I like the experience on Dwight Grant, but these Serbian fighters and fighters from Europe and China have a lot more to lose. They're flying 20 plus hours to get to the States. They're quarantining a lot longer. They're sacrificing more. Dwight Grant, I don't like the activity level. I don't like his age and the change of camps. Stefan is with Dusko Todorovic. I think maybe that was the fighter you were thinking of.
that's
Dusko
what I was trying to
Todorovic.
think of. Yes.
Yeah. And I also know he does have connections with Euros Medic. So these
Mhm.
Serbian fighters have really looked they've looked competitive and they're showing good results the past couple of weeks, or the past year or so. I really like Stefan here. 29, he's reaching his prime. I'm not going to hold that Hamazan loss on him too much. I think he comes back and we might see another really low output split decision from Dwight Grant. Stefan is a 9-12 finisher, 75%. He's got 3 knockouts, 6 submissions. I don't know. I like the Serbian, especially at the odds.
All right, so we got another disagreement here. I'm going to take Grant, and I don't love the odds. I'm not going to be betting this one. Minus 220 for Grant, plus 180 for Stefan. Stay away from that. No more to say there. We are going to move on to the next fight here because we are still working our way on through to the top of the prelims here. The prelim featured fight Randy Brown versus Alex Oliveira at 170 pounds. Randy Brown 12-4 versus Alex Oliveira 22-9-1. Alex Oliveira 33 years old. Randy Brown 31. So a lot of people would think Randy Brown was much younger. Not really, but definitely much less.
I got 30 on my page, but
30 in 9 months, so almost 31 is what I said.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So Alex Oliveira, 33 years old, and he's coming off a loss versus Shabak Rakhmonov, where he got caught on a guillotine going for a takedown. At this point, we know what to kind of expect out of Alex Oliveira. He's 2 of his last 3, having a split win over Max Griffin and then a win over Peter Sabata by decisions, those 2, and then has been off since October of 2020 when he lost to Rakhmonov. I mean, Alex Oliveira, to put it simply, I feel his best days are behind him. I just think like he kind of goes in there and he can beat guys he's really supposed to beat at this point. But, I mean, he has a decision loss to Mike Perry, decision loss to Nicholas Dalby, got rear naked choked by Gunnar Nelson, got choked out by Rakhmonov. I think that Randy Brown...
you don't talk about his wins at all.
Well, I did. So I did mention that I did talk about his wins. I said he had the 2
Did you say Carlos Condit, Tim Means, Will Brooks?
Yeah. Okay, yeah, you can go ahead and talk about his wins then. I'm leaning towards Randy Brown. Go ahead and take over.
Oh, you're taking the Jamaican. We got the Jamaican.
Yeah.
All right. I know this is James Krause's official pick. He's been hot on a tear, and he picked Randy Brown. And I didn't like that pick, really. Like, he did lose to Vicente Luque last time out, Randy Brown. He listened to his wins. Eric Montano, not in the UFC anymore. Chris Camozzi's brother, Brian Camozzi, who I don't think he even picked up a win in the UFC. Let me just double check. Yeah, Brian Camozzi went 0-3 in the UFC. Matt Dwyer. I don't want to hate on my Canadian, but he was never UFC level. He's very tall and just not the best coordination. Mickey Gall, I think he's going to have his walking paper soon. Brian Barberina, I'll give him that one. Knee and punches. And Warley Alves is a 1-round fighter. If you can survive 1 round against him, you're going to beat him. So, yeah, I just think there's levels to opposition here. Alex Oliveira has beat a lot better guys than Randy Brown. He had a very dominant decision over Peter Sabata, looked very smooth in his striking, in and out like a snake. His reaction time is still there. Losing to Shavkat Rakhmonov, I see him as a title contender one day. He's right up there with Khamzat Chimaev. I know a lot of people don't talk about him, but listen, like, he's going to be a big name in this sport if he starts getting fights. I don't know why he hasn't fought since, but Shavkat Rakhmonov is a very good opponent. Nicholas Dolby, like you said, he lost to him, but Dolby also a guy that just beat Daniel Rodriguez. But I honestly thought Rodriguez should have got the nod there. That was bullshit. But yeah, like, so you like Randy. I think we might disagree on this one as well. They're both long guys, lanky guys. Alex has like 9 kids he's got to feed, so I think he needs a win here more than Randy Brown. And a lot of baby mamas.
All right. Well, this is not one I'm super confident on. I just more yeah. I don't know. I didn't really get to explain Randy Brown because you kind of cut me off there. So kind of made me not want to talk about this fight anymore, if I'm being honest.
So no, you like Randy Brown, so
yeah, I like Randy Brown, but not at the price. Not as a favorite. I'd prefer a
this
dog
is
or
James
pass here.
Krause's pick.
I don't care about James Krause.
Yeah, he has been on a hot streak.
Oh, that's fine. So am I.
Everything that goes up must come down, though.
Yeah, this is just one that overall I think that
Decision.
It's not one where I'm not ever crazy about betting Alex Oliveira or Randy Brown. Neither one of them I feel comfortable will fight for my money. I think both of them, if the going gets tough, sometimes look for ways out on both ends. So not guys I'm crazy about betting on. I'm interested to see who wins this one, but I also feel that both guys' ways to victory is their ways to defeat. Randy Brown's a minus 145, plus 125 on Alex Oliveira. So pretty close. I think that Randy Brown, he's 31, but has just much less tread on the tires. But also the argument is the experience edge goes to Oliveira.
Randy Brown by submission. I'm just going to look that up quick because Alex Oliveira does tend to get submitted.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I'd be curious about that.
Randy Brown by submission. We got, where is it? Inside the distance is plus 190. It looks like they don't have a submission prop out yet.
Yeah, plus 190, so probably around a plus 400 or so, I would think, on the submission.
Yeah, definitely worth a stab there.
Yeah, but yeah, just overall one where I'll be honest, neither fighter I'm crazy about betting on, and I wouldn't be comfortable suggesting other people bet on them if I'm being honest. So we're gonna finally
plus 600. Sorry, plus 600 submission prop on Randy Brown, which
is
worth a look.
Definitely take a shot on that. We're gonna move on to the main card now. The main card kicks off with a really good 205 fight, potential changing in the guard fight. And Anthony Lionheart Smith taking on Jimmy Crute. Jimmy Crute's on a little bit of a hot streak right now since losing to Misha Serkinov in a fight where he was having decent success himself before the Peruvian necktie, I believe, by Serkinov. 25-year-old Jimmy the Brute Crute, coming off the punch KO win of Modestas Bukauskas. Before that, got a Kimura win over Lord Michel Olejniczak, which is a very impressive win. Has a punch win of KO win of Sam Alvey, as well as a Kimura win over Paul Craig. So decent wins, not like incredible wins, but decent wins to slowly earn his way up to an Anthony Smith fight here. Jimmy Crute, I think, needs to not make this a stand-up fight to make this very, very simple. I think Jimmy Crute needs to get in his face, look for the takedowns. Anthony Smith has a 51% takedown defense. So he does have good, good submissions off his back, good submissions overall. He has a triangle win in his last fight. I do think he has good sweeps as well. Definitely the level of competition Anthony Smith has faced at 34-16 is much higher. Coming off the win against Devin Clark. Before that, got out-grappled by Alexander Rakic for 3 rounds, and I think that's kind of similar to what this looks like in this fight, if I'm being honest. I think that's the route to victory for Crute, and it's just a question for me with Crute if he wins or not. But before that, I think the fight that really changed it all for him, the Glover Teixeira fight, had a really good first round against Glover and then got beat down for 4 rounds until Glover finally put him away. And I don't know why Anthony's corner did not stop that fight sooner. I think that significantly is going to affect Anthony Smith's career for the rest of it, especially with having 49 other fights. Just a lot of damage, a lot of tread on the tires, and there's a lot of holes in the game that Jimmy Crute, I think, has the tools to exploit. He just has the one loss to Misha Serkinov, where he was winning a good amount of that fight before getting submitted. So I like Jimmy Crute quite a bit in this fight. I just think this is one where I think Anthony Smith is going to have a lot of trouble keeping Crute off him and staying off the ground.
Yeah, this is definitely a veteran versus prospect matchup. Anthony Smith has a similar record to Jorge Masvidal, actually. He's definitely a journeyman. 34 wins, 16 losses. This will be his 51st professional fight, 9-6 in the UFC. So he has a below 500, or sorry, 9-6 in the UFC. He's got an over 500 UFC record. But still, like, that could be he's faced a lot of good opponents too. Don't get me wrong. John Jones is one of those. He could have taken the Aljamain Sterling way out, but he fought like a man. His name's Lionheart. He knew he was losing that fight, and he's not going to go out like that. Even though if I was him, I would have definitely taken the way out and got that win bonus and the rematch. But I'm never going to disrespect Anthony Smith. He's one of my favorite fighters. He's actually half black. I don't know if you knew that.
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, he's always going to be one of my favorites. That Rakic loss really dwindled my expectations on him in the future. Like, he took a few leg kicks and he just crumbled. He looked terrible, man. Like, I don't know. I bet on Anthony Smith, and that just was one of the worst bets I've made in a long time.
Yeah,
and then,
it reminds me a lot of the Kevin Holland situation, where when the holes have been exploited, now
yes.
the game plan is written.
And he's not even in a weight class that's his natural weight class. He only went up to 205 because he would have got cut at middleweight, I'm pretty sure. So he wanted a fresh start, and he beat two 30-plus-year-olds in Shogun and Rashad Evans, 35-plus-year-olds who are on the tail end of their careers. He did get that Volkan Oezdemir win and the Alexander Gustafsson win. Like, if he gets it to the ground, he can strangle anybody. He's very good on the ground, but that's one of Jimmy Crute's strengths.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jimmy's going to be a lot stronger. I'm not going to count Anthony Smith out. He can obviously submit anybody he's matched up against, even against Rakic. He did get his back, and he did almost get it, but Rakic just shoved him off. And I think it's just a big strength difference in middleweight from light heavyweight. How old's Anthony? Anthony's younger than I thought. He's only 32.
So heavy 32, man.
Yeah, fight years, he's 57.
Yeah,
that's what I would say.
And that Glover Teixeira fight just, I think, really took a lot out of him mentally and physically.
Yeah, I'm just going to see how many strikes. Glover landed 138 strikes on him that fight, significant strikes. Mm-hmm. That's crazy, man. That's a lot of damage.
60 extra ones that didn't need to happen. It should have been stopped in the third round.
Yeah, I bet Glover live that fight. I got him at like plus 340, I think. It was after round one. I'm like, I'm taking, like, Anthony Smith. You could just tell he blew his casket. Like, he just went balls out and
I personally think that I'm curious the Crute decision prop because that's the way I'd go.
Yeah, well, Crute's a true finisher. He's only got finishes in the UFC. He does have a few unanimous decision wins in before the UFC and the regional circuit.
Yeah, I'm just value hunting here a little bit, to be honest.
Pardon?
I'm value hunting here with him because I know he's a pretty significant favorite, so I'm looking for a little bit of value.
Yeah, but do you like? It's just Jimmy Crute. I wanted him to fight Magomed Ankalaev. I was gonna. I don't know. I wanted to advertise that because I really like that matchup. They're both up and comers, but I see what they're doing here. They want to test Jimmy Crute. Like Anthony Smith has lost to Alexander Rakic, Glover Teixeira, and John Jones are his last three losses, and Thiago Santos. Like if Jimmy Crute beats him, he's pinned to those names. So this is a huge fight for Jimmy Crute. It's a big step up from Modestas Bukauskas. Huge step up. I really like that Johnny Walker fight that he was supposed to have in March 27th. I was going to go Jimmy Crute knockout all day because Johnny Walker is so chinny and just leaves himself open constantly. But yeah, this is a closer fight on paper than the odds dictate, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, fair enough. I'm gonna go with Crude. He is a minus 190 favorite right now, which is pretty heavy, but the blueprint's there. There's a lot of people who argue Devin Clark should have been able to follow that blueprint, and he didn't, though. So, there is that. But I'd rate Jimmy Crute much higher than Devin Clark, and I do think that with this being the most important fight of Jimmy Crute's career, I think so far, there's going to be a little bit of him being a little cautious and maybe not going for that finish as much as he usually does. So that's why I was looking at the decision also. And I do think that Smith a lot of times will be more concerned with surviving than winning a fight. So maybe he's focused on that. But that's why I was looking.
Smith by submission plus 900.
Yeah, I mean, that would be crazy. I don't see that happening, but we will have to see.
Did you tell me last week I said Jacob Malkoun by submission plus 2,000?
Yeah, I saw that, and I did.
I was up on my feet, man. In the round two, he kept going for that Darce or that front choke. I'm like, oh, he's got Abdul here.
Yep, it was close. Close. Moving on to the next fight here. We're in the 185 division with a second fight between Chris Weidman and Uriah Hall. Battle of New York, as they're labeling it.
I'll be right back, buddy.
Yeah, no problem. These guys have been around the UFC for quite a while. We've got 15-5. Chris Weidman, 36 years old in 10 months, almost 37 years old, coming back down to 185 after a stint at 205, taking on Uriah Hall, fellow 36-year-old, 185-pounder, both out of New York. And this is a very interesting fight. I will start with Uriah Hall, 16-9. Now prime time, 36-year-old 6-footer, as I said, coming off a 4th-round finish of Anderson Silva last year on Halloween. That was Anderson Silva's final fight of his career. So, of course, he would now fight Chris Weidman. This fight was scheduled for February of this year, and Chris Weidman had COVID. So that's something I want to point out right away. Had to pause the training, and at 37 years old, I question how that affects Chris Weidman. Uriah Hall on a 3-fight winning streak against Bevon Lewis in a fight that was pretty close till he knocked him out, to be honest. Then had a very close split decision win over Shoeface, which is not exactly my idea of inspiring. Then beat Anderson Silva. It is what it is. Lost to Paulo Costa, got knocked out. Got knocked out by Musasi, knocked out Christoph Jocko. So it's been up and down. Got knocked out by Derek Brunson. Got decisioned by Robert Whitaker, and so it's been up and down. But 3 straight wins for Uriah Hall. Definitely like seeing that. Chris Weidman finally got off of his skid, making his return down to 185, taking on Amari Akhmedov. Before that, was having quite a bit of difficulties there for Chris Weidman, former champion. Got knocked out by Dominic Reyes, got knocked out by Jacare. Did finish Kelvin Gastelum by arm triangle. So definitely realized they need to get back down to 185 after his 2 fights at 205. Chris Weidman beat Uriah Hall the first time, knocked him out actually.
On the feet?
Yeah, he knocked him out on the feet. It was like 10 years ago with King of the Cage, I believe it was. Ring of Combat, whatever. It doesn't like okay. Geez, fact checker. But
it's a big New York promotion. That's
okay. It's right. It's like Man, we're like 4 hours into breakdowns today, and you're gonna correct what fucking regional fucking
King of the
scene,
Cage. That's a
dude.
big difference.
Ring of Combat, whatever. It was a knockout. I got Chris
Ring of
Weidman.
Combat's best
And
fight.
okay, all right. I'm done with this. You just want this breakdown to be done early. I got Chris Weidman by decision.
Yeah. This is two ways. We got Hall by knockout or Weidman by decision. That's how you got to take this.
Right.
I don't think Weidman's going to knock him out on the feet again. That's probably his worst game plan to do, is go out there and strike with Uriah Hall, who's been knocking guys out. I know it's not the highest caliber of guys, Anderson Silva and 44-year-old Anderson Silva, Bevon Lewis, who I think went 0-3 in the promotion, or like 1-3. Trevin Giles knocked out Bevon Lewis. So Christoph Jocko, I'll give him that one. Paulo Costa, that was an insane fight. Paulo actually almost got knocked out. I really enjoyed that fight. Yeah, but Chris Weidman, he's done it before. I think he's mentally stronger than Uriah Hall. Both these guys have been knocked out multiple times, 5 times for Chris Weidman, 4 times for Uriah Hall. They're both in their upper 30s, 36. They're both 36. Yeah, I just I think if Weidman has the right game plan, he should definitely win this again.
Yeah, my only holdup on Weidman is they had COVID 2 months ago.
Oh yeah, they were supposed to fight 2 months ago,
and he had COVID.
Yeah, Weidman, and like you said, another older competitor testing positive for COVID that might affect them long term health wise. But I can't put my money on Uriah Hall. When I put money on Uriah Hall versus Anderson Silva, I had so many parlays riding on Uriah Hall, and I'm like, I'm gonna lose all my money here. I started debating betting Anderson Silva live because he's the most gun-shy fighter you'll ever see in the UFC. Like, Dana White even criticized him. Like, that was a terrible main event. And yeah, I love Chris Weidman. He's an awesome dude. If he doesn't get caught here, he should put the pressure on like he did to Omari Akhmedov, who's a talented Dagestani wrestler in his own right. How long ago did Chris Weidman do that? Like it was
that was
kind of recent.
October of last year, I believe.
Yeah, he got knocked out by Dominic Reyes October 2019, and then August 2020 he got that unanimous decision win. He got the monkey off his back.
Yep.
Yeah, this is the type of fight where I like the prop bets. I'm gonna double check right now. Chris Weidman by decision, because you might be able to get plus money either way. Weidman by decision. We got plus 200.
Yeah, it looks like
Hall by knockout plus 225. So 2-1 on your money right there.
Yep, and the money is coming in on Weidman a little bit, minus 125 for Chris Weidman. It was a pick 'em. I believe Uriah Hall was initially the favorite.
Yeah, he was
opening. So definitely a little bit of money coming in. Chris Weidman has been training with Stephen Wonderboy Thompson for this camp, but he will have Ray Longo in his corner as well. So yeah, and I mean Chris Weidman, as usual, he has high hopes, high expectations for his career. Still has title sights and believes he has 4 fights left before the end of his career here. But
dude, he has a good style to give Israel problems. For real.
I mean, it should be a similar style to give Uriah Hall problems. Having the confidence of the previous win should also help. So we're both going with Chris Weidman here. Minus 125. Pick him on a couple sites, but mostly Weidman's slight favorite. Weidman by
apparently
decision.
Long Island doesn't count as a New York. If you live in Long Island, that doesn't count as New York.
Yeah, I heard that.
When Uriah Hall, in Uriah Hall's mind.
Yeah, I being someone who has been to Long Island, I'll agree with him on that analysis.
Oh wow, I thought he was being stupid there.
It's kind of a lot of trash people there. If I'm being honest, no offense if anybody from Long Island's listening. Moving on to the flyweight championship fight, the first of 3 title fights on the evening. Very, very excited to be able to witness my second Valentina Shevchenko fight. My first was against Juliana Pena, where she
Oh,
armbarred Juliana Pena in Denver.
I
That
was
was
gonna hope you
fantastic.
were gonna say Jessica I.
No, but Juliana Pena was great. I was happy to
That
be
was
there
yeah,
for
that
that.
was back and forth actually the first round.
Yeah, and really showed a lot. Taking on Jessica Andrade here. Jessica Andrade coming up from 115, but she has fought at bantamweight also. I'm a huge Jessica Andrade fan. I really
Mhm.
love watching her fight. 21-8. She's been in the UFC forever, and she's only 29 years old. That's the craziest part to me.
Yeah.
She obviously got blitzed against Weili Zhang, but before that, had a very impressive finish of Karolina Kovacevic, and obviously that slam of Rose Namajunas. Rose also had some interesting words to say about both Valentina and Jessica Andrade, saying Jessica Andrade hit way harder than Valentina ever did, and she's trained with both of them, or trained with Valentina and fought with Jessica. Jessica does have insane power at 125, at 115, or at 135, and legit Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt as well. The hook to the body that ended it with Kaylin Chikagian was like the third or fourth body shot that Jessica Andrade had hit pretty flushly on Chikagian, another rangy striker, but we saw how Chikagian did against Valentina. We get to, but again, Andrade has faced all of the best at one time or another. Finished Joanne Calderwood, beat Angela Hill, lost Joanna Jędrzejczyk, beat Claudia Gadeja, beat Tisha Torres, Karolina Kovacevic. I mean, Rose Namajunas lost to Zhang, lost to Namajunas in a split decision in the second one where she had the gas in the later rounds against Rose. So that's something that's really impressive out of Andrade. And Andrade is just one of the few women in any of the divisions besides Namajunas or besides Nunes who you can really honestly say can finish anybody with her hands. Valentina Shevchenko, 33 years old now. So still, plenty of time, to in her prime, I believe. Came off the Jennifer Maia fight where she had one round where she was off in the second round. Besides that, pretty much cruised against her. Schooled Caitlin Chikagian in her fight. Beat Carmouche pretty handily in her fight. Knocked out Jessica I obviously handled her. Looked really impressive against Joanna Jędrzejczyk in her fight. Beat Priscilla Cachoeira where she landed like 120 significant strikes before that fight was finally finished.
I think that was a record, pretty sure.
Yeah, it was crazy. And so, I mean, Valentina, she's been in her last couple fights against Caitlin Chikagian. She was a minus 1,200. Against Jennifer Maia, she is a minus 1,825. Against Jessica Andrade, only a minus 400. So
yeah, last time we got those type of odds, she faced it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fights ago. So Joanna, I believe.
Yeah, so Joanna, so the odds makers still putting this one pretty wide. I do think that for the most part, it should be Shevchenko being able to do similar things that Rose did, but be able to keep the gas tank going and be a little bit more evasive defensively. I think Rose gets hit far too much, and I don't think Shevchenko will get hit as much. We could see Shevchenko getting on top a little bit of Jessica Andrade too as this fight goes on. Jessica, she's got to go in there and blitz and go for it straight up. I think that she can, if she hits any woman straight flush on the chin, she's putting them away at 115, 125, or 135. I really don't think there's many women you can say that about, but Jessica has proven that. She's been around for a long time. She's had a couple. This is, I believe, her second or third championship opportunity. And maybe this one is the time she finally gets it.
No, she was the strawweight champion. Zhang knocked her out in China.
Who did she beat for the strawweight title?
Rose Namajunas. She pile drived her in round 3.
Okay, I didn't realize that was for the title. My bad. I'm totally having a brain fart here. Sorry, a lot of breakdowns today and a lot of studying and a lot of just life. So getting to where my brain's a little mush, so I'm excited to just go watch some fights here in a couple days. But yeah, Jessica is a former title winner. This is her first opportunity at 125, but she's looked really good. She's looking in very good shape here. And I just think Valentina, she's beat some decent girls, but I think like the run Jessica Andrade is on is tougher competition in a lot of ways. So obviously Valentina has the win over the common opponent win over Yana Jędrzejczyk that Valentina has that Jessica doesn't. Before I started, I wanted to say one of these three titles at least is going to change hands, in my opinion. I don't know which of the three is, but I do not believe we're going to be hearing and new for all three of these fights. I just don't. I know it just seems that way to a lot of people. I'm going to go with Jessica Andrade here, actually, to shock the world and really make everybody really be on the edge of their seat for these next two title fights, because they're going to realize none of these champions are safe. We might have two title changes. I don't think we have three. I will say that. But there might be two, really. And I think that there is at least one. And I just got a feeling about Jessica, man. I think she's going to come into this. I think she's going to shock the world. I get Valentina has never been finished by strikes as far as I know in her career. She's only lost by decisions. But you've never being hit by a girl like Jessica Andrade. And I just think that, yeah, I just got a feeling about Jessica, man. So I'm going to go for it. I'm going to take Jessica. I'm going to take the KO prop on Jessica and just gamble.
Yeah, Valentina did get TKO'd a long time ago by Liz Carmouche, but that was when she was very green in MMA. She came in as a kickboxer, Muay Thai champion. So those are, those are holes she's obviously going to improve over time. I just want to play this quick interview. When she fought Amanda Nunes, it was after the Amanda Nunes.
This is obviously a very close fight. A lot of people here feel that you should have gotten a decision, obviously. Give me your thoughts on the fight.
I really don't understand why is the victory go to the other side. For 2 takedowns, for all 5 rounds, she didn't hit no one time, not one punch, nothing significant. Look at her face. Her nose is rose. Her nose is red. My punches. And why
that fight really could have went either way, man. She made a good argument at the end there. Amanda Nunes did just want to get it to the ground. She wanted nothing to do with Valentina striking, and that's the scene in every Valentina fight. That's what every opponent wants to do, get it to the ground, because her striking is just so elite. She trains with her sister Antonina Shevchenko, who's got a fight coming up in 3 weeks. They're both outstanding. Antonina is really coming into her own, even though she's the older Shevchenko sister at 36. She's been looking better and better every fight, which is very rare to see a 36-year-old do that. So, yeah, I like what the Shevchenko sisters are doing. Jessica Andrade reminds me of a female version of John Lineker. She gets in there. She's obviously always going to have the reach disadvantage. She's going to be the shorter opponent, so she has to get on the inside, deliver body shots, power punches. I think she can take down anybody in the 115, 125, or 135-pound division. So I do expect her to at least take down Valentina once. Can she do it continuously over 25 minutes? That's the question. We saw Jennifer Maia expose Valentina in that second round. She actually edged out a round against Valentina. It was a 49-46 unanimous decision for Valentina. She was a minus 1850 in that fight, but after the second round, I believe she dropped to like a minus 200. So maybe we want to keep an eye on the live odds here. If Jessica maybe edges out one of the first 2 rounds, keep an eye on the live odds. We might be able to get Valentina closer to even money. And but yeah, my initial thoughts, for sure, I'm always trying to find the dogs, right? And out of the 3 championship fights, Jessica has the best chance of winning, in my opinion. She's a tank. She doesn't have to cut as much weight. She's so seasoned. She's so experienced. She has stats for days in flyweight, or not in flyweight. This is only her second fight, but she has stats in straw weight. Am I there?
Yeah. And bantamweight.
Yeah, and bantamweight. Yeah, you can just go stats for days. Like, we got 4th best control time percentage, 2nd best significant striking accuracy, most strikes landed per minute, 5.66 strikes landed per minute in the bantamweight. I think it's the same as strawweight. Yeah, the most knockout TKOs.
Like, when was the last time she had an easy fight? I think that Valentina has had easier.
Is loaded. It's a loaded division.
Valentina has had easier fights more recently than Jessica.
Well, yeah, you can just tell off the money lines that she's had the easier fights. Yeah. Like, Jessica has been an underdog in 2 out of her past 6 fights. Honestly, that Rose fight, I thought it should have been a draw. Jessica did enough in the 3rd round to maybe score a 10-8 with damage if you take damage into effect. Rose really didn't look that great at the end of the fight, like bleeding from one eye. It looked like she had a hematomen or whatever.
Yep.
Something, I think that's what it's called. It was forming. And yeah, if that was a 5-round fight, I guarantee Jessica would have won that. And now that she doesn't have to cut 10 pounds and she's won 5 rounds with Joanna before, this is a great opportunity for a potential underdog to cash.
Yep, I agree. I'm
not completely convinced. It's so hard to like be confident. Against one of the greats.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I've had a feeling all week, and as I've looked into it more, I feel that this is the spot that we see the title change hands. Not to give away my other picks here, but I'm gonna take a shot on Miss Andrade. I think that wrestling-wise, she can get it down. She does have legit jiu-jitsu, and on the feet, I think she's got a power level that, I get it. Shevchenko looked really good against Nunes. Nunes strikes very differently from Andrade. I'm not saying Andrade is a better striker at all, but it's just she doesn't need to be a better striker. She needs to get a few of those shots in a row to really just change the fight. We've seen it several times. Minus 400 for Shevchenko, minus 450 now, actually, plus 360 on Andrade. So,
she's arguably the best woman fighter other than Amanda Nunes.
Yeah, exactly. So,
but we just saw Demetrius Johnson lose. Like,
right, anything can happen. This is the first title fight. I do think that it'd be pretty fascinating if the first one has the title change hands, especially in kind of a more shocking way. Then we're really just no one feels safe. As we get into co-main event,
would you take the over/under in that fight?
What's that?
Would you take the over/under in the in Valentina versus Jessica Andrade?
It's hard. I'd probably take the over.
I think.
I'd probably take the over just in general. I tend to take the over with these fights, but that's definitely a tough one. But I think there's some interesting props here as we get closer. But right now, I have a feeling about Valentina. I have a feeling about Andrade. I'm going to go with Andrade. And we're going to move on to the co-main event. It is in the 115 strawweight division. It's a potential real classic here. The return of Weili Zhang, strawweight champion, taking on Rose Namajunas, Thug Rose. 9-4 Roses, coming off of that split win over Jessica Andrade in July of 2020. Then she has been off since then. We both kind of agree that Jessica Andrade deserved a draw, if not the win in that fight. One of the biggest critiques I can give about Rose right off the bat is she takes a lot of shots. She definitely defensively is not where you'd like to see her. And, Weili Zhang, one of the hardest hitters in 115 besides Jessica Andrade, is no longer there. And I just think that that's where my mind immediately goes, is that I think that Jessica, or I think Joanna Jędrzejczyk, when she fought Weili, was more defensively sound than Thug Rose would be able to be over the amount of time. And therefore, I'm just not sure if if Rose is going to be able to be, cautious enough within the striking realm to be able to survive 5 rounds against a girl in Weili Zhang, who doesn't seem to get weaker as the fight goes on, and definitely has the power to get this fight down to the ground and really work it on the ground. But I think on the feet, is where this fight's going to take place for the most part. Rose has the 2 wins over Joanna. However, she has the knockout and then backed it up with a very solid decision win. So, and in the first fight against Jessica Andrade, she was winning before the slam. So, or at least it was competitive. Maybe she wasn't winning, but I think it was very close.
No, Rose was piecing her up. Rose won the first 2 rounds.
Yeah, Weili Zhang, 21-1, lost her debut, and then since then has gone on a run. Has looked great in the UFC, but her wins again are over Daniel Taylor, Jessica Aguilar, Tisha Torres, which is good, but a decision. Jessica Andrade, which is great, but it was in 42 seconds. And I love a quick finish, but
it was just a bad circumstance for Jessica.
What was that?
Oh, it's just a bad circumstance for Jessica because she's the champion going to China. That jet lag from traveling. Apparently, there was something to do with her corner not being there. It was just a lot of X factors going into that fight that I was not aware of. And usually the champion gets the hometown advantage, but in this case, she went to China. So a lot of cheers for Weili Zhang in that championship fight.
Yeah, Weili Zhang. And then Zhang had a split decision over Joanna, which a lot of people feel Joanna won that fight. So
I did, yeah.
Yeah, so before everybody maybe crowns Zhang as the next, up and coming, her 2, most high profile wins, one of which she had just about every hometown advantage you could have, and finished the fight in 42 seconds, which Junior Dos Santos has a win over Cain Velasquez in, very quickly. These quick finishes can get a lot of things, change a lot of perspectives. Just look at the main event. But it doesn't, we don't know how good Weili is. I think that we've seen a little bit more of how good Rose is. 2 wins over Joanna, including a finish, is very impressive. Beating Jessica Andrade before holding on to an armbar too long and then getting slammed and then coming back and making it 5 rounds, taking all of Andrade's best shots there. There's a lot to really like about Rose here. And this is another one that if it's a dog fight, how can you not maybe side with Rose a little bit? Rose is a complete dog. And with Weili, 21-1, but not a lot of super impressive wins in those 21 wins. A lot of who knows, young fighters like the girls fighting for the strawweight championship in LFA coming up tomorrow. So it's like there's a lot of smoke and mirrors potentially with Weili Zhang. Also only fought 1 time last year, and it was against Joanna Jędrzejczyk, and then she didn't fight again.
That was an absolute war.
Yeah, it was an absolute war, but it was the only time she fought. And now so all that being said, I really like Weili Zhang. I think she's got all the tools. She's an absolute beast. She's probably a future 125 challenger in a few years, which is crazy. But for now, at 115, well, she can make it. Magnum is a great nickname. Defensively, Rose takes just too many shots here. And I do think that Weili can put her away. I like Weili overall in this fight. I think that she wins a decision. And I do think that it's a good fight, but not maybe the dog fight somewhere in participating. I think Weili kind of just pulls ahead as this goes along further and further. I think Rose's best chances early on to kind of catch her and blitz her early and overwhelm her as opposed to trying to out-decision Weili.
Yeah, I got the Chinese Weili Zhang, the champion here. Joanna Jędrzejczyk, that fight, honestly, I couldn't believe what I was watching. Like, after the 3rd round, I'm like, how are they still throwing with this much impact and output and just accuracy? After 15 minutes, usually technique starts to, dwindle, deteriorate, but they held up for 25 minutes, the 2 of them. That was an absolute war, man. That fight will go down in the record books. Definitely going to be a Hall of Fame, UFC Hall of Fame fight. Other than that, though, she had that win against Jessica when Jessica flew into China as a champion. I don't know what that was all about. Tisha Torres is like 10-5 in the UFC. It's not the first time she's lost.
No.
Jessica Aguilar is old.
Yep.
Danielle Taylor is an Invicta. She's actually a sergeant. Danielle Taylor.
Yep.
She's a police officer.
And 5 feet
There was
tall.
a good win. Emu Vicino. I don't know. I can't say it, but she's a good Japanese fighter. 40 years old, but very experienced submission fighter. Yeah, Rose. If she fights like last time against Jessica, she always looks so good in the first 2 rounds, and then she starts to fade. Like
Yep.
if there was another 2 rounds attached to that fight in September against Jessica, she definitely would have lost by knockout in round 4 or on the scorecards 48-47. She's that was obviously a 3-round fight. She's going to be training for a 5-round fight this outing. She wants that title back. I don't know, that slam that Jessica did to her changes fighters, man. Like that was devastating to watch. I didn't even know if Rose was going to get up after that. That was a
Then
very
she took a
scary
lot of
scene.
shots in the next fight too.
Yeah, she got pieced up. Her face was battered, bleeding from both eyes. I'm pretty sure it was a hard scene to watch. Rose hits like a man though. She is so strong and she's lanky. She's got great technique. She's got knockdowns. I'm pretty sure she got 2 knockdowns on you. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she knocked down Joanna twice. No, she knocked down Joanna once, but she made Joanna tap to strikes, which I don't think any fighter will ever be able to say that they made Joanna Jędrzejczyk tap to strikes.
And
Like
then lie about it.
that's insane, man. Yeah. Rose is the only person to ever be able to say that, probably, like, for the rest of her life. And yeah, she's a Ultimate Fighter finalist, lost to Carla. Carla wrestled the shit out of her. Weili Zhang is so well-rounded, man. She's like a little action figure. She hits so hard. Even if Rose is hitting her with 3, when Weili hits, it's gonna make more impact and more significance in the fight. She's got takedowns as well. She's just so well-rounded. The Chinese the Chinese MMA scene is on a rise. Like you said, like we've been speaking about, so many China fighters on this card, and they did do that because Weili Zhang is one of the headliners on this. So yeah, I think this pay-per-view is actually going to do really well if the Asian market is interested. I know they got to wake up super early, but the UFC smart for doing this, putting like 6 Chinese or Mongolian fighters on one card.
Yep.
Yeah, I like Weili Zhang, probably by decision here.
Yep.
The first 2 rounds might be competitive. Another fight where you might want to wait for the live odds. Maybe go half in on Weili Zhang, and then after 1 or 2 rounds, you might even be able to get Zhang at plus 100, because those first 2 rounds are going to be very competitive, and it's going to tell the story throughout the next 15 minutes of the fight.
Yeah, I agree. I'm on Weili Zhang by decision as well. Weili is a minus 190 favorite on the money line, plus 165 on Rose. This is the closest of the championship fights.
Yeah.
And I can understand it for sure. Weili is very unproven still, even though she's got a ton of hype and I really like her and she's got all the tools in the world. Both of the
This
women
will tell us a lot.
It's really interesting. Both of the women challengers, I think, have faced better competition than the champions. So that's a huge X factor, I think, in the fight. We're moving on to the main event of the evening. This one is at 170. It's the rematch. Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Gamebred Masvidal. This time, Jorge has a full camp. This might be one of the shorter breakdowns of the night, to be honest, because we have so much information already. I get that Masvidal took the last fight on 6 days' notice, flew over to Abu Dhabi in July of last year, and won a scorecard on one judge's scorecard, right? And the other judges had 50-45. Is that right? I believe that's
yeah, it was 50. Yeah, 2 50-45s, 149-46.
Yeah, so Jorge Masvidal, he landed a few good shots and evaded a lot of the takedowns of Kamaru, but Kamaru still was able to control a last-minute opponent change and never really looked in too much danger in that fight. And this is just kind of a case of Jorge Masvidal getting as much distance as he could on a 5-second knockout, if I'm being honest. Because then he had the Nate Diaz fight where he did look good against Nate Diaz, but when the fight was stopped due to the cut, that's when Nate Diaz was really turning it up. And not trying to sound like a Nate Diaz fan, but it was when the tide was starting to turn just a little bit. But Masvidal also had the super impressive finish of Darren Till in Manchester. Before that, he did lose to Stephen Thompson at 170, as well as Damian Maia, which was a split decision that I thought it was pretty close. Honestly, I thought they could have given Jorge that win against Masvidal, against Maia. Sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Jorge, he's been around forever, had that win over Don Cerrone. I've actually been at 3 of Jorge Masvidal's fights now when I go to the fight on Saturday, interestingly enough. And I'm not even a particularly huge Masvidal fan, but I was at his Cerrone fight, I was at the Nate Diaz fight, and now I'm going to be at the fight on Saturday. Kamaru, we know what's there to say about Kamaru at this point. 18-1, has only lost to Alex Caceres' brother, as you said. Besides that, everything kind of really changed after that Tyron Woodley fight, where he was the first to come up with the blueprint on how to beat Tyron Woodley, truly beat Tyron Woodley. I know Tyron had been beat before that, but just the way that Kamaru beat him is the way that every other of Gilbert Burns has beat him, Colby Covington beat him, and then Kamaru ended up going on from there to get the win over Colby Covington, where he got the win with 50 seconds left in the 5th round, broke his jaw, so super impressive there. And Dana has already said that Colby Covington will be the next challenger if Usman wins. So basically,
It works for both men.
Yeah. So either Usman is fighting Jorge again if Jorge wins, or he's fighting Colby Covington.
I'd rather
again.
see Kobe versus Jorge, to be honest, but
yeah. And then Gilbert Burns, he ended up really discovering that new jab, and just Kamaru seems to be adding to his game. He seems to be getting better. Yeah, Trevor Whitman, he's now switched up camps at 33 years old. He's still continuing to be very hungry, continuing to improve here. This is Usman all day. I don't know anybody who's taking Masvidal. I don't know how you could or why you would. I get that.
The value.
Yeah, but it's the value. I get that. I'm going to pass on that value because there's no value in losing a bet. And I just think that I think Kamaru takes this all day. Kamaru has a full camp for Jorge, just like Jorge has a full camp for him too. So that's something to be taken into account. I get it that Masvidal should look in much better shape here, but I just think that the way Jorge is talking, he's talking like a guy who knows this is his last time on that main stage. He knows if he loses this fight that all of that clout's gone and that he's going to just go start his own organization and disappear into the sunset. If he gets a KO, he becomes one of the biggest combat sports athletes in the world, though. And everything changes. This entire crowd is going to be all for Masvidal. The entire crowd. It's in Florida. The general fans don't like Kamaru anyways.
We heard it at the press conference today.
Yeah, we're going to hear boos for Kamaru. And Kamaru can claim he loves that, but I mean, it could get to him, and it could. But I mean, if all things are equal here, I'm going to take Usman again, and I think Usman will be determined to try to get a finish, but I'm not sure if he gets it. But finish on either guy's side is a huge statement. So, but I got Usman all day here. I'll include him in a few of my bigger parlays.
Yeah, Usman's probably one of the most mentally strong competitors in the UFC, probably in UFC history. Like, his mental game is something to really look at. I hold that in very high regards. And that's half this game is mental. Like it's only one night you get to compete, and it's whoever wins that night, that one night, So there's a lot of stuff you have to do beforehand, and Kamaru Usman, nothing gets to him. I swear, nothing gets to that man. He just goes in there and he fights. He's undefeated in the UFC, 13-0. He's got the longest winning streak in welterweight history. He's the only fighter in welterweight history to start their UFC career with 13 consecutive victories. Yeah, it's just second most decision wins, 9 decisions in welterweight history. Second longest average fight time in welterweight history. So you know his fights tend to go longer. I had Usman on a lot of parlays to finish my night a couple months ago, and Gilbert Burns really scared me, man. Like, I swear, I thought Usman was done. He looked like he was toast in the first round, and then Gilbert Burns kind of just stayed on his back and let Usman recover. He let him clear the cobwebs. I'm like, I loved it. I'm like, yeah, stay there. Usman was tagging him. I think he was kicking his legs. He was kicking Burns' legs while Burns was on his back. But he really wanted Usman to come into his guard to play his jiu-jitsu game. But Usman's so smart, he's not going to do that. And it just gave Usman time to recover. The first round's obviously going to be sketchy. Masvidal won that first round. So I'm telling you, these live odds might be good in these championship fights. Keep an eye out for them, especially if Jorge wins that first round. Usman might drop to like a minus 185, minus 190. You never know. But yeah, I definitely like Usman by decision here. I think it's going to be rinse and repeat. He's with Trevor Whitman, same coach as Rose Namajunas. They have a lot of familiar names coming up together this week. A lot of support. Justin Gaethje's going to be with them. He's got a country on his back, Nigeria. Jorge is Spanish. I think he's from Cuba, or I know he's got a big Spanish heritage. But yeah, it's definitely not the fan-friendly style Kamaru Usman brings, and I can understand why he gets boos. But like he says, you have to start respecting this man. And yeah, he's one of the best in the world, and he might break George St. Pierre's record eventually if he keeps if he plays his cards right. I think this was smart on his end to call out Jorge. It might bite him in the ass, but this is another opportunity to stack up his already superb UFC record, undefeated UFC record, another title defense, another big payday. The only reason why Masvidal is even in this fight is because of Usman. Usman called him, said, "Oh, you're making all these excuses. Let's do it on a full camp and let's see what you got." So yeah, I like Usman here. It would look really bad if he called this guy out and ended up losing to him in a rematch. It would only make for a rubber match, even though Dana White did say Kobe Covington will be the next competitor. But either way, I just gotta go Usman here. I'm pretty sure I'm perfect on Tapology with him. I'm gonna double check. But yeah, Usman all day.
Well, if you just keep picking Usman, you've been fine.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever picked against him. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So yeah, that brings us to the end of the card here.
What are the odds? Oh, did you say the odds?
Oh no, I didn't say the odds. Sorry. The double breakdowns really get to me towards the end here.
Yeah.
Minus 440 on Usman. So quite surprised it's not higher. I don't mind pairing that up with some of the other fights I feel a little bit better on overall.
It was only minus 260 the first time he fought Jorge.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, it's gotten large, it's gotten a little wider, but either way, 2 hours and 9 minutes in, we're gonna call it a night time. UFC 261.
Good times as always, though. Thank you, buddy.
Yeah, thank you for joining me, and we'll be continuing to do these. We appreciate anybody who's checking out any of the breakdowns, LFA, Bellator, PFL, or what have you. We're
not them all.
Yeah, we are going to keep doing them, but definitely check out all the breakdowns on the channel and everything else with MMA Stooges here. But for Aaron the Dog, for Brandon of MMA Wagers, enjoy the fights at 261. It is a pay-per-view worthy card for sure. Enjoy the fights, everybody. Take care of each other out there. Peace.